So this is part one. This is the crime. I was in my late 20s, mid-20s actually, and this was the late 70s. You guys can do the math. And I was always looking for, the cool kids to hang out with because I pictured myself being a cool kid, a cool artist, and I always wanted to be hip on what was happening. So I was working at the Old World restaurant in Westwood at the time, and I befriended this guy named Alan, who was very cool. He was quiet, he was shy, he was thin, he had these cool glasses. He knew everything about popular culture and new music. He turned me on to Bowie and all these other great artists. And so this is the person I wanted to hang out with. And he had a friend named Jody. Now Jody was kind of the opposite. He was the party boy, he was the loud one, he was the one with no moral compass whatsoever. And Jody one night convinced Alan and I that we should join him on this check forging scheme for the Christmas season that was coming up. He came up with this whole way of getting all this stuff from all these stores without having to pay for anything. And it went like this. He would take a bunch of my personal checks, write my name on them, but because he wrote it, they technically became forgeries. Now, this was back before they had all the scanning and the cameras everywhere, and people still shopped a lot with cash and checks. So we made a list of all these department stores that we wanted to hit, and it was the weekend before Christmas. And some of the checks had already been filled out, so we could just run in the store, hand them to the clerk, walk out with the stuff, no questions asked. And if they asked for an ID, I had my ID, but I also was paying with a forged check. So we do this, and we get jewelry and clothing and appliances and camera equipment and stereo equipment. And then Jody's going through the store just picking up stuff as we leave, sticking it in the bag. We get home and we got all this loot. And we think we're gonna give this away as gifts. We're gonna enjoy all this stuff. Little side note, everything that I got from that little shopping spree disappeared from my life, with the exception of a camera. It either got lost or broken or stolen by somebody else. It was very weird. But that wasn't the half of my punishment. So we get all this stuff. We think we get away with it. And we did. Because when the store started sending the checks to the bank and the bank was bouncing them back, I had the perfect alibi. See, after the weekend of larceny, I called the cops and said, oh my God, my checkbook and my wallet was stolen. There might be forgeries out there. And I called my bank, and I closed my bank account because there might be forgeries out there. My wallet and my checkbook were stolen. It worked. We had the perfect alibi. So the stores, of course, were writing letters and calling me and demanding their money, but nothing I could do. We thought we were clear, but the universe had other plans. First of all, I started waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, imagining the cops knocking at the door and dragging me off to jail. That was bad enough. But then, in the 20-year span after we did all this, I was mugged 4 times in this town, in my hometown of LA, and always out of the blue stuff, random, not walking down dark alleys, or anything like that, random stuff that would happen when you would never expect it. And this is one of the most colorful ones. I was driving home from a play rehearsal in Hollywood, and I was driving home to my place in Mar Vista. This was in the early 90s. And my car was giving me problems. It kept stalling out at the intersection. So I made it as far as my off-ramp off the 405, and of course the car died, so I roll down the off-ramp. I make it across the street to the gas station, and I, stop the car. This was before cell phones, so I walk across the street to the phone booth. I call AAA. They said they're going to be there in about within a half hour. Cool. I walk back across the street. I lock myself into the car, and I wait. 15 minutes later, tow truck driver shows up. He's this nice-looking Middle Eastern guy. He starts working on the car and hooking it all up. Meanwhile, these 2 Latino punks, thank you, my peeps, come driving into the station on a moped. One of them was this big football player type guy, and the other one was this thin little wiry guy. They get off the bike, and they start walking towards us. And they're saying, hey man, We just need some gas. Can you give us some gas? The tow truck driver yells back at them, no, there is no gas. There is no gas. The gas station is closed. There is no gas. They keep walking towards us. We're looking for some gas, man. We just want some gas. I yell back, there's no gas, guys. He's hooking up my car. It died. There's no gas. They keep walking towards us slowly, and then all of a sudden, in a flash, before I knew it, the big guy had jumped behind me, and he pinned me back like this. And the little guy was in front of me, and he shoved something into my stomach. I didn't know if it was a gun or a knife. I didn't want to look down. I had this long coat on, and I was terrified. My arms went up like this, and I just froze. And they're yelling at me, give us your money, give us your money. I said, okay. The money's in the car. My wallet's in the car, which was about 20 feet away at this point. So the three of us, like a crab, go walking together over to the car. Meanwhile, the tow truck driver had jumped into the cab of his truck, pulled out a .45, and blasted 2 shots in the air, just bang, bang. The three of us, the crab, goes like this. And the 2 guys took off like bats out of hell. As the little guy's running away, I can see that he has a sharpened screwdriver in his hand. That's what he had against my stomach. The big guy jumps on the moped, starts to take off, and the little guy's yelling after him, cabron, wait for me, cabron. He finally jumps onto the moped, and they're gone. The tow truck driver says, get in the car, get in the truck, get in the truck. I said, okay. I need to get my stuff from my car. So I run over to my car, open the door, grab my bag, slam the door, and lock the keys in the car. I said, oh shit, it doesn't matter, let's go. So I jump into his truck, we get over to his station, and he starts talking to his partner who looked like they could have, been related somehow. And they're speaking in a language I don't understand, but I'm waiting there in the other room, and he finally tells him the story, and then he comes over to me, and he says, look, the police station is very close to that gas station. If we go back there and there are police, I could get in big trouble. I don't have a permit for the gun. I don't have a permit. I could be in big trouble. I just looked at him, I said, dude, you just saved my life. I don't know what those guys would have done if you hadn't been there. If we go back and there's cops, there's no gun. We don't know anything about a gun. We're just getting my car. Okay, let's go. So we calmed down a bit, got back in his truck and drove to the station. And we thought if the cops are there, no gun, we didn't hear anything. If there's anybody else standing around, we're not going to stop, because we thought maybe these guys would come back. So nobody's at the station when we arrive. He jumps out, he starts jimmying the lock on my car, he gets the keys out, he hooks the car up to his truck, and he takes me home. And I'm about a half a mile away. The whole time we're driving, we're seeing cars, passing us, and every time one would pass, we would do this. Thinking that we were going to be the victims of a drive-by if these guys decided to come back and look for us. He finally gets me home. I thank him profusely and give him all the money I had on me as a tip, and I couldn't believe that it had happened. Now, in the whole time that this period went on and there were other muggings, I kept thinking, I don't believe in special guardian angels or spirit guides or any of that stuff. But I got to tell you, I do believe in karma. And this one night, when the forces of good and evil decided to mix it up in my little universe, I was very grateful that I had an iconic hero on my side, my knight in shining tow truck. Thank you.
Pablo Marz, ladies and gentlemen.